You'd think that after nearly a year, I'd stop counting the days, but I haven't. 11 months and 3 days. That's how long I've worked at Lynx Tech Solutions, the sharpest, fastest moving tech firm I've ever set foot in. It's the kind of place that makes you feel like if you just blink a little too slowly, you'll fall behind. It's also the kind of place where everyone sounds like a podcast host. Confident, quick, flat dash vowel ed. I don't sound like that. My voice carries Nigeria in it. Not the noisy Lagos traffic or the open-air markets, but the classrooms I grew up in. The quiet authority of my mother. The way my teachers used to pronounce my name like it meant something. Amara. Grace. But here, my name is a Q2. Pause. A flicker in their eyes. A millisecond of calculation. Is she new? Is she foreign? Can she understand us? Can we understand her? It happens in meetings, mostly. The glances, the small, polite smiles when I speak. The occasional repetition of what I've just said rephrased in their own accent, as if to translate me. I pretend not to notice. Most days, I can almost believe. I don't want until the moment I couldn't. It started on a Tuesday. I had just walked into the office, white walls, glass partitions, and a constant low hum of productivity. Everything is open plan, no doors, no privacy. Just the illusion of access. I sat at my desk, logged in, and opened Slack. Messages were already pouring in. Jason, Friday's pitch is official. Sundale Capital confirmed. Mia? Already. That's fast. Jason, Tom wants the full team in the room. Me, I've been running the analytics on the user segments. I can build a forecast slide. Tom boss Amara. Let's not overwhelm them with too much data. Keep it simple. I stared at that message for a while. Keep it simple. It wasn't the words. It was the way I knew he meant them. Not great insight. But let's stay focused. But don't go too deep. Don't make them think too hard to understand you. Don't be too much. I closed Slack and exhaled through my nose. Quietly. Later that day, we gathered in the huddle room, which is just code for a slightly less cold space, with bad coffee and old chairs. Tom stood at the front, sleeves rolled up just enough to look relaxed, but in control. He scanned the room with that practiced smirk of his. All right, T, let's talk about how we're not going to screw this up. A few chuckles. I didn't laugh. He walked us through the product prototype, the talking points, the investor profiles. Then he looked at me. Amara. He said, "You've been working on the user segmentation, right?" I nodded, a little too quickly. Yes. I've modeled early adoption rates across 3 core groups: Gen Z freelancers, mid-level professionals, and SMBs. The data indicates. Tom raised a hand. Hold up. I stopped. He smiled. The room smiled with him. He had that power to pull people into his energy, no matter how cutting it was. Can we just pause for a second to appreciate how everything sounds smarter in Amara's accent? He said. Then he laughed, not loudly. Just enough to invite others to join. And they did. Not everyone, but enough. Nervous, awkward laughter. I saw Jason's eyes flick to me, then away. Mia looked like she wanted to say something, but didn't. I smiled, because I didn't know what else to do, and then, just as I sat back down, he added, "Let's maybe have someone else take the lead on the speaking part Friday, just so we don't confuse the investors." I don't remember much of what was said after that. Not because I wasn't listening, because I was trying not to cry, because I was trying not to break, because in that moment in a room full of people who called me brilliant in Slack, who nodded at my reports, who praised my initiative, I was just the woman with the accent. I was the soft voice in the room, and I hated that it was suddenly so loud in my own head. That night, I walked home slower than usual. I didn't call my sister. I didn't cook. I sat on my bed with my laptop open and stared at the blinking cursor on an empty PowerPoint deck. I could hear his voice over and over. Don't confuse the investors. Appreciate how everything sounds smarter in your accent. Let someone else take the lead. I leaned forward and I started writing a new pitch. Not the one Tom wanted, the one I was going to give anyway. Asterisk, the apartment is silent except for the low hum of my laptop fan. I'm still in my work clothes, blazer off, sleeves rolled up. My heels are somewhere near the front door. Discarded the moment I got in. My living room light is off, only the bluish glow of my screen reflecting back on me. I haven't moved in hours. The first slide is still blank. A cursor blinks. Blip. Blip. I'm not crying. I want to. The burn is behind my eyes, pressing against the inside of my skull like steam in a pipe. But I won't give Tom that. He doesn't get my tears. Not after what he said today. Let someone else take the lead. Don't confuse the investors. Downton Abbey met Wakanda, asterisk it loops. Over and over. He said it with a laugh, like it was clever. Like I should thank him for such a creative insult. The way people do when they want to hurt you, but still be liked. But this wasn't high school, and I wasn't a kid anymore. I stare at the blank slide again. Then I type Q4 adoption forecast, Almaro Okafor, iPercenter, and I breathe. Not deeply, but enough. Asterisk Wednesday morning. The office is still quiet when I arrive. Only the cleaning crew is here, and the elevators make that soft ding that I usually find irritating. But today, it's a rhythm I can follow. I head straight to the team conference room and book it for the whole morning. I bring coffee, my laptop, 2 notebooks, and a small Bluetooth speaker. I'm not taking any meetings today. I'm building my own. Inside that glass room where I was mocked, smiled at, minimized, I begin again. I start with what I know. The numbers. User acquisition projections. Behavioral psychology models. Fintech trends by generation. Transaction confidence data. I gather everything. I've spent months compiling the very work they praised when it was in reports and spreadsheets. Only, now I'll make them hear it. All of it. From me. In my voice. Asterisk later that afternoon, I take a break just long enough to grab lunch. But the line at the cafe downstairs is long, and I'm not hungry anyway. When I walk back into the office, Mia is walking out of the elevator. She sees me and hesitates. Hey, she says softly. Hey, there's a moment. That awkward kind. Where one person wants to say something important and the other is bracing for impact. Mia tucks a piece of hair behind her ear. That was out of line. She says, Tom shouldn't have said that. I shrugged. He says a lot of things. Yeah, but this wasn't just a bad joke. It was. She stops. Then, with more weight, it wasn't okay. I nod. Thanks. She hesitates again. If you want, I can cover your slides Friday. I mean, not because you can't do it, just in case you don't want to. I pause, and then I look her in the eye. No. I say, I'm giving the pitch. Mia blinks. Then she smiles. Just a little. Good, she says. I hope you tear it down. Asterisk Wednesday night. My apartment is a mess. There are sticky notes. On the fridge, on my bathroom mirror. On the wall above the couch. Each one with a line I might say during the pitch. Each one a thought that keeps me steady. Your accent is not a liability. It's a memory. A legacy. Clarity doesn't sound like anything. It feels like conviction. Don't confuse silence for submission. At one point, I stand in front of the mirror and record myself. Speaking, I play it back. My voice is low, confident, measured, but there's still that tiny voice in the back of my mind. The one Tom planted, whispering, they won't take you seriously. You sound different. You'll confuse them. So I play the recording again, then again. And with each replay, that whisper gets quieter. Asterisk Thursday, I go to work with one goal. Refine and rehearse. I skip the team check-in. I skip lunch. By 3 p.m., I've built a deck with 20 clean. Striking, slides, animations subtle, fonts strong, language concise, and I've practiced the entire thing 5 times through. Each time I stand when I speak. Each time I pause when it matters. Each time I finish with my name. Presented by Amara Okafor. Asterisk that night, I call my sister Chinelo. In Lagos. The call is Tiki, but her voice is clear. She listens as I tell her everything. The joke, the laughter, the burn of being laughed at in a room full of people I thought respected me. She goes quiet for a second. Then she says, when I was 12, Mama told me something I never forgot. She said, your voice was made to be heard, not hidden. You remember that? I do. Well, maybe it's time they heard it. Asterisk that night, I sleep, not well. But enough. And when I wake up on Friday, I'm not scared anymore. I'm ready. Because I've done the work. Because I know what I'm about to say. Because I no longer care if they're confused. Because I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking for me. Asterisk. The air feels different today, like it knows something important is about to happen. I ironed my blouse twice this morning. Not because it needed it, but because I needed the ritual, the repetition, the sense of control. I chose my earrings carefully, small gold studs my mother gave me before I left Lagos. For courage, she'd said, fastening them in my ears the day I boarded the plane. And for beauty, you don't have to explain. I look at myself in the mirror one last time. Speak clearly. Stand tall. Don't shrink. I whisper these words, not as a reminder, as a promise. Asterisk, they call it the glass tank. 20 feet long. Frosted panels, clean lines. Obscene views of downtown Chicago. Everything about this room is designed to make you feel small. Except the table. That thing could seat a United Nations delegation. It's polished, sleek, and absurdly cold against your palms. I take my seat near the middle. Tom is already there, cufflinks glinting. He's holding court with Jason and Mia, laughing a little too loud. He doesn't even look at me. Perfect. I place my laptop down gently, open the presentation, and check the AV connection twice. The screen flickers to life, clean white background, my title slide, the logo, Q4 growth forecast, LinksTech Solutions, nothing flashy, just solid, direct design. Just like the pitch I've rehearsed 37 times. 944 A.M. The investors, Arab Vezendel Capital. 3 of them, all sharp suits and tailored confidence. 2 men in their 50s. 1 woman, probably early 40s, with hair tied back and a gaze that could slice steel. They shake hands. Tom's in full performance mode now, charm cranked up to 11. He introduces the team like he's reading a playbill. When he gets to me, he simply says, "This is Amara, she's on analytics." No title, no mention of the forecast model I built. Just on analytics. I nod politely. No smile. Just enough eye contact to be respectful and to remind them I'm not invisible. Not today. 10:02 a.m., the meeting begins. Tom kicks off the opening remarks. He talks about market agility, sector volatility, AI integration, and user trust. He speaks fast, as if volume equals confidence. It's the same speech he gave last quarter. The investors nod, but none of them look particularly moved. Then, without looking at me, Tom gestures lazily toward the screen. And now, our user growth projections for Q4. He turns to the investors. Amara will walk you through the numbers. Just keep in mind, she gets very excited about charts. Chuckles. I don't smile. I stand. I walk to the head of the table and the room changes, because now all eyes are on me. And for once, I let them stay there. Good morning. My voice is calm, clear. I feel every syllable. No rush. No tremble. My name is Amara Okafor. I've led the market modeling for this project for the past 7 months. What I'd like to share with you today is not just a series of projections, but a story. The woman investor leans forward slightly. I click to slide 2. The first story begins with freelancers, a generation of workers born from disruption, now leading at their mobile-first bank-averse and desperate for financial tools that understand instability not as a flaw, but as a norm. Pause. Slide 3. Our solution isn't just to serve them, it's to scale with them. My voice is steady, measured, the accent is there, unmistakable, but not softened, not buried. I own it. I click to the next slide, animated graphs showing adoption curves. Segmented by demographic. The room is completely silent, no fidgeting, no side chats. Even Tom has stopped tapping his pen. 10:17 a.m., the unexpected curveball of the older investors raises his hand. What's your margin of error for the underbanked demographic? I smile because I was waiting for this question. 4.2%, I say. Based on previous case studies in 3 urban markets, we ran sensitivity tests assuming 10% variance in user behavior and adjusted messaging accordingly. I click again, slide 9. A map appears color-coded. This model isn't based on ideal behavior, it's based on real hesitation. That's why. It works. I can feel the shift now. The energy. The other investor, the one who's barely spoken, leans back, arms folded. He's watching me like someone who's just heard something they weren't expecting. And the woman, she's nodding. Tiny, precise nods. The kind that mean go on. Las 10:23 alto M. The final slide. I take one small step closer to the table. The question isn't whether people need this product. I say, it's whether they'll trust it. Click slide 20. Trust isn't built by explaining, it's built by listening. I know what it means to sound different. I know what it means to be the voice that doesn't match the room. But I also know this. When your product speaks to people in the language of their pain, their hopes, their reality, they don't care about your accent. They care that you saw them. Silence, not awkward, not polite, stunned, and then the woman from Sundale stands. She claps once, twice, and then the others follow. I don't move, I just stand there, heart thudding like a drum, staring out at the room I was once afraid to speak in. Now, they're all looking at me, really looking. 0:29 a.m. silence after applause. The sound of their clapping fades. But the silence that follows doesn't feel Empty. It feels like pressure shifting, like a room that just exhaled after holding its breath too long. I close my laptop gently, the screen goes black. I return to my seat slowly, trying not to let my hands shake. I sit tall. I do not look at Tom. Instead, I glance at the woman from Sundale Capital. She's scribbling something in her notebook, and I notice she's written my name down. Amara, Okafor. In all caps. Tom clears his throat. Well, he says with forced cheer. That was ... a lot of data. There's a flicker of tightness in his jaw. His voice is light, but his face is pale. Very thorough. He adds, trying to recover. The older investor, the one who asked about the underbanked margin, turns to Tom. Is she always this good? Tom's smile twitches. Amara's very passionate about numbers. Passionate, the investor repeats. Then, she's your most compelling speaker. That sentence slices through the room like a blade. Tom blinks. Jason drops his pen. I don't smile. I just glance at my notes, pen between my fingers like a conductor who just ended a symphony. Asterisk 11:02 a.m. After the investors leave, they file out slowly, still talking among themselves. As they pass, the woman investor, she hasn't said her name yet, stops next to me. She offers her hand. Phenomenal delivery, she says, authentic and razor sharp. Do you speak at conferences? No, I say, not yet. You should, she says. I'd listen. And then she's gone. The glass doors hiss shut behind her. And then it's just us. The room feels smaller now. Tom is still at the head of the table. Jason is pretending to type something. Mia just looks at me with wide eyes, a grin threatening the corners of her lips. I wait. Let Tom speak first. Asterisk 11:05 a.m. The first attempt at rewriting history. Tom stands. Adjusts his watch. Nice job, everyone, he says, pointedly avoiding eye contact. Good energy in the room. He turns to me at last. You went off script a bit, he says lightly. But I suppose it worked out off script. Suppose it worked out. I stare at him for a moment. Not angrily, just ... clearly. No, I say, it didn't work out. I worked hard. I planned, rehearsed, and I delivered a pitch I believe in. There was no luck involved. His smile falters. Then Mia, bless her, adds casually. Yeah, Tom, her slides were way better than what you sent in the draft last week. Jason chuckles under his breath. Tom clears his throat again. Let's debrief later. And then he's gone. Asterisk 11:43 a.m. In the elevator. I'm alone in the elevator, heading back to my floor. A moment of stillness. I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirrored panel. And for the first time in a while, I see something familiar. Not just someone who survived the week, someone who shifted the room. Asterisk 2 p.m. Slack messages back at my desk. I log in. There are DMs waiting for me. Mia, you killed it today. So proud. Jason, that was boss level energy. We should all follow your slides. Lauren from marketing. Oh my God, girl. Who taught you how to pitch like that? Derek from IT saw the deck. Best one I've seen all quarter. Can you teach me your trick? My fingers hover above the keyboard. I don't reply right away. Instead, I open the recording of my pitch. I watch it once. Not to critique, just to witness, to remind myself of who I am when I stop folding myself to fit a room that was never built for me. Asterisk 5:15 p.m. Tom sends an email subject. Great job today, buddy. Amara wanted to say nice work during the pitch. Investors seemed impressed. Let's talk Monday about ways to keep you involved in more presentations moving forward. Appreciate your effort. I stare at it for a full minute. Effort. Not excellence, not leadership. Not clarity. Effort still. I reply, thank you, Tom. I'd be happy to take lead again with or without permission. And I hit send. Asterisk. Later that night, my sister calls me from Lagos. You did it, she says. Without asking, I nod. Then I remember she can't see me. I did. What now? I think for a moment. Then I say, I'm done playing small. That's what's next. Asterisk. The morning of the presentation felt like the hush before a storm. The city outside was overcast, the streets damp from rain, but my apartment was lit with quiet resolve. I had woken before dawn, not because of an alarm, but because my mind wouldn't let me sleep. My nerves were electric. My laptop sat on the counter, open to the final version of the deck. I had gone over it at least 20 times. I knew every slide, every word, every pause. I slipped into a fitted navy blue suit, simple but sharp. I pulled my hair back neatly, added just a touch of eyeliner. I didn't want to look flashy. I wanted to look capable. Before heading out, I stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "You know what you're doing. Speak slowly, own the room. Let them see what he couldn't." It was still early when I arrived at the office. The meeting was set for 10 a.m., but I needed time. Time to breathe. Time to occupy the room before it became filled with eyes waiting to judge me. The boardroom had already been arranged. The long oval table polished to a shine, the glass walls reflecting the lights above, the screen at the front ready for projection. Water bottles lined the table. A small tray of untouched pastries sat near the back wall. I walked the room slowly, letting my heels echo against the tile. I touched the edge of the table, looked at the chairs, the cords, the HDMI input. I tested the clicker, checked the presentation. Again, everything worked. Still, my palms were sweating. One by one, my colleagues started filing in. Lydia gave me a warm smile and a thumbs up as she passed. Mark looked unusually quiet, like he was thinking better of all the jokes he'd laughed at before. Then he walked in. Thomas. He strolled like a man who'd never doubted his place in any room, speaking to one of the junior managers like he was already halfway through a joke. He didn't look at me at first. Then, as he moved toward the head of the table, his eyes passed over mine. No smile. Just a curt nod. I gave him nothing. The investors arrived just after. There were 6 of them, including Mr. Hawthorne, the sharp-eyed venture capitalist with a reputation for never smiling until the ink was dry. They brought an energy into the room that shifted the air. Calm, calculated, expectant. Thomas rose and began the introductions. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We've prepared a pitch we believe aligns closely with your investment objectives. To begin, I'd like to introduce one of our team leads, who will walk you through the concept and execution strategy. Anna will be presenting." He said my name without inflection. No warmth, no ownership. I stood, my hands didn't shake, not visibly. My heels clicked against the tile as I walked to the front of the room. I turned toward the investors, nodded politely, then took a breath so deep it nearly touched my spine. "Good morning," I began. "My name is Anna Duarte, and I'm here to show you something we've spent months building. Something we believe can redefine logistics software for mid-tier retailers." A pause. No stammer. No hesitance. I clicked the remote. The first slide lit up, bold, clean, modern. As you know, the mid-market supply chain industry is often overlooked in favor of enterprise-scale solutions. But what happens when thousands of independent retailers are left out of efficient systems? Waste, loss, bottlenecks. I walked as I spoke, not pacing, but moving with intention. My accent curled around the English words, but I enunciated every syllable. I had practiced this not to sound less like myself, but to sound more certain. Thomas had shifted in his seat. I caught it from the corner of my eye. I clicked to the next slide. Charts, data, pain points. Our research shows that 68% of mid-tier retailers cite outdated software as their primary operational challenge. We've developed a solution that addresses these problems head-on, streamlined, affordable, and intuitive. I could see Mr. Hawthorne lift his chin slightly. He was paying attention. I continued, taking them through the architecture, the integration models, the market size, the launch strategy. I didn't just recite, I guided. I asked rhetorical questions. I anticipated objections. I showed them the math, the case studies, the prototype screens. By the time I reached the final slide, the room was so quiet you could hear the hum of the projector fan. And finally, I said, "This isn't just a tool. It's a statement that we see the small players, that we understand their needs, and we've built something not just to serve them, but to empower them. We're asking for your partnership, not just your funding." Silence. For a moment, then, Mr. Hawthorne leaned forward, pressed both palms against the table, and slowly stood up. He looked me directly in the eye. "I've sat through 100 pitches this year," he said. "Most of them forget the human factor. You didn't. That was exceptional." Then another investor stood. Then another. Applause. Not thunderous, but real, respectful, enough to fill my chest so tightly I could barely breathe. I saw Thomas, still seated, his jaw tight, his eyes betraying something like disbelief. I didn't look at him again. I nodded graciously, murmured a soft thank you, and returned to my seat, pulse hammering behind my ears. That moment, the shift in the air, the validation, the sound of people standing because of MIT was mine, and no one could take it back. The boardroom was silent, not the awkward, empty silence of an elevator ride or the casual lull of a paused conversation. No, this Was the charged silence that vibrates in your chest, the kind that lives right before something explodes or implodes. I couldn't tell which. All I knew was that every eye in the room was now fixed on me. I stood in front of the screen, the soft blue glow of the presentation slides casting a calm light over my hands, which, though clenched around the remote, trembled slightly. A breath, deep, full, my accent, my so-called flaw, curled around every syllable as I began to speak. Thank you all for being here today. I know your time is valuable, and so is your vision. A couple of eyebrows raised. I wasn't reading from notes. I wasn't rushing. My voice was low, steady, warm. I'd practiced that line 100 times. But now it came out like a thought I'd just had. Asterisk, we're not here today to impress you with buzzwords or spreadsheets filled with wishful numbers. I clicked the remote. The first slide appeared. A clean, bold title. We're here because there's a market waiting to be tapped. And we have the key. Some of them leaned in. Behind me, I could feel Davis shifting. His earlier smirk was gone. I didn't. Look back, I didn't need his validation anymore. Not now. Not ever again. The slides guided my words. Market trends, user behavior shifts, potential scale. But I wasn't just delivering information. I was telling a story. Their story. Our story. We've been looking at these numbers the wrong way. It's not about where the industry is, it's about where people are going. And if we don't move with them, we get left behind. I paused, not because I forgot my line, but because silence has weight. It gives your words a place to land. This idea didn't come from a think tank. It came from listening. From understanding voices that usually get talked over. I could feel the double meaning. I let it hang in the air. Davis stiffened. This product isn't just innovative, it's human-centered, practical, scalable. It respects the user. It respects their habits, their cultures, their languages. I clicked again. Asterisk, the screen changed to a single bold sentence. You can't lead a global market if you don't listen globally. Someone in the back, one of the senior investors, a woman with sharp eyes and sharper instincts, nodded, almost imperceptibly. But I saw it, and I knew. We project 130% growth in user engagement in the first 2 quarters. But beyond the numbers, I turned to face them fully. This is our opportunity to become the company that didn't just chase trends, we set them. Another slide, a video began playing, muted. A demo reel of the prototype. Simple, clean, already tested in 3 pilot markets. All diverse, all successful. The investors leaned forward. I continued, voice smooth, unwavering. You're not investing in a product. You're investing in the people who believe in it, the people who built it, the people who use it. I let the last sentence land. Then, slowly clicked to the final slide. Our logo, glowing subtly over a world map. Silence, but not the same silence from before. This one was thick with thought, with surprise, with something, charged, and then dash clap. It started with one investor, then another, then all of them. A wave of applause broke the tension. I saw heads nodding, smiles, genuine engagement. I didn't smile yet. I stood steady. Then I turned. Davis was frozen in his seat, his hands limp on the table, his jaw clenched. And for once, for the first time, he didn't speak. But I did. I met his eyes, held them, then turned back to the investors. Thank you. I'm happy to take your questions. They had many, and I had all the answers. But as I spoke, I wasn't just answering questions. I was rewriting the story that had been told about me, about my voice, my ideas, my worth, and the room. That powerful, ruthless room was listening, not just hearing. Listening. For the first time, asterisk, the room was suspended in silence. Like the final breath before the plunge. I stood there, breathless. My final words still hanging in the air. You don't need perfect English to have a word idea, you need vision. And the courage to speak up even when they tell you to stay quiet. For a moment, I feared I had gone too far. That I had lost them at some point. That my passion had overpowered the professionalism they expected. Then, it happened. A chair shifted, then another. Asterisk, one of the senior investors, a tall man with silver hair and a cobalt tie, pushed his chair back and slowly stood up. His eyes were locked on me, unreadable. Then came the applause, first a polite clap, then another, and another. And then it swelled, hands striking together, crisp, enthusiastic, affirming. All around the table, investors stood, not just clapping, nodding, smiling, looking at one another, with that gleam of, we just witnessed something. A woman in a crimson blazer, who earlier had barely glanced at me, stepped forward and said, "That was one of the most compelling presentations I've seen in years. Thank you." I blinked. Stunned. Asterisk, the CFO, usually stone-faced, was smiling. "Ms. Reyes, how long did it take you to prepare this?" My voice was shaky, for days. But I've been thinking about it for years. Laughter rippled through the room. Not mockery this time, but warmth. Respect. And then I felt it. That shift. That tiny earthquake under your feet when power reorients in the room. My boss, Mr. Carter, was still seated. His arms were crossed, jaw tense. His eyes flicked between the standing investors and me, a quiet storm behind them. I could see his pride cracking. He had no words ready, no jokes, no smirks. For once, silence was his only response. One of the junior investors, barely out of grad school by the look of him, turned to Carter and asked, "Why hasn't she been leading more pitches like this?" Carter cleared his throat. She's still new. Asterisk, I'm not new, I said, my voice stronger now. I've been here for 2 years. I just wasn't visible. All eyes shifted back to me. The moment was mine, and I didn't flinch. Another investor clapped me on the back as he passed by. "Well, you are now..." Outside the conference room, the hallway was quiet. I leaned against the wall for a second, adrenaline still flooding my system. I had done it. I had turned that room, that moment, upside down. I felt my phone buzz in my blazer pocket. It was a message from Jasmine. "Holy hell. You just set fire to that meeting." Carter looked like someone slapped him with a board. "I'm so proud of you." I smiled. Relief, power, gratitude, all crashing into me at once. Behind me, the glass doors opened. Carter stepped out. He didn't say anything right away. Just looked at me, hands in his pockets. "That was impressive," he said finally. "Thank you," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. He nodded once curtly. "We'll talk Monday about next steps." And then he walked away. That was it. Not an apology, not acknowledgement of the mockery. The silence, the sidelining. But something had shifted. Not just in the meeting room, in me. I wasn't the silent girl with the accent anymore. I was the woman who made them stand. And now, they would have to listen. Asterisk, the room emptied slowly, as if reluctant to disturb the energy still vibrating in the air. People were murmuring, some whispering, others openly, talking about what had just happened. I could hear bits and pieces. "She shut him down. Did you see his face? That was brilliant." And the accent? It made it more real. I sat back in my chair for a moment, hands still resting lightly on the table. My heart was slowing down, but the adrenaline hadn't left yet. It pulsed beneath my skin like a quiet current. Across from me, Alan stood frozen. His eyes avoided mine. His jaw was clenched so tightly, I could almost hear the grind of his teeth. A sheen of sweat glistened at his temple. He didn't speak, not a word, just watched as the investors moved toward the exit. Some stopping to shake my hand. Impressive presentation. One of the senior investors said to me, "Your storytelling elevated the pitch. That's what moves people, authenticity." "Thank you," I replied, steady and calm. "It means a lot." Behind him, 2 other partners nodded. "You've got something rare," one added. "Don't let anyone water it down." Their words carved themselves into me, not like praise from people trying to flatter. This felt earned. Alan tried to follow them out, but before he could slip away, Susan, one of our project managers, stepped in front of him. "You owe her an apology," she said bluntly. He blinked. "I'm serious," she continued. "That thing you said in the last meeting, that wasn't leadership, that was cruelty." Alan opened his mouth, but Susan cut him off with a glance and walked past. Coworkers approached me, some shyly, some proudly. Ethan from marketing gave me a fist bump. That was, "You dropped a bomb, girl." Sarah from HR hugged me. "It's about time someone showed what you're made of." But it wasn't just the congratulations that stayed with MIT, was the way their eyes had changed. Before, they'd looked at me like a capable assistant. Smart, helpful, but replaceable. Now, asterisk, they looked at me like a leader, like someone who could shake walls. Alan finally walked over. His posture was stiff, but his expression was odd. Something between embarrassment and forced humility. "I have to admit," he began, looking off to the side, "I didn't expect that pitch." "No, you didn't," I said plainly. "I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't smile." He coughed, shoved his hands into his pockets. "I may have been unfair, The accent thing, I shouldn't have said that. I raised an eyebrow. He cleared his throat. I mean, it was inappropriate. There it was. Not a full apology, but something. I nodded slowly. It was disrespectful. He looked caught off guard by how firm I was. Maybe he expected me to nod, graciously thank him for the crumb of decency. Asterisk, I didn't. I'll be updating the proposal for next steps, I added. I'll loop in the rest of the strategy team. I'll need full access to the accounts and data projections. You'll what? He asked. I'll lead it, I said clearly. I've earned that. And I won't let this project fail because of anyone's ego. Not even yours. Silence. His jaw tensed again, but he didn't argue. He just nodded once grudgingly and walked away. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It wasn't just the victory of a great presentation. It was the power of speaking for myself, after all the quiet resentment I'd swallowed, of demanding respect, not waiting for it to be offered. In the hallway outside, I caught my reflection in the glass. Same blazer, same face, but something in my posture was different. Taller, straighter, no. Not different, reclaimed. I turned and walked out of the room. Asterisk, the boardroom eventually emptied, but I remained seated at the far end of the table. The chair, that once felt like a place of anxiety, now held a quiet, earned power. My laptop was still open, my slides frozen on the final screen that had closed my pitch. A simple message lingered on it. Don't underestimate the quiet voices. They might be the ones changing the world. I read it over and over. I had typed that line the night before, wondering if it was too bold. Now, I realized it was exactly what I needed to say to them, to myself, to the version of me who had once hesitated to speak. The door creaked, and I looked up to see Annika, one of the junior analysts, lingering at the threshold. She was usually quiet in meetings, like I had been. I just wanted to say, "You were amazing," she said. Her voice was soft but sincere, and your accent. It made everything sound stronger, like you meant every word. That nearly undid me. Asterisk, thank you, I said, my throat tightening. That means a lot. She smiled and left, but her words stayed. For years, I had worked tirelessly to neutralize my accent, softening consonants, mimicking vowels, trying to blend in. But tonight, it was my voice, my real voice. That had broken through. I stood slowly, gathering my things. My phone buzzed, a message from my father back home. "We are proud," Mama cried, watching your speech. "You speak like you belong, always did." I blinked hard, swallowing the lump in my throat. My family had sacrificed so much for me to even stand in a room like that, let alone win it over. I thought about the younger me, listening to them speak at the dinner table in fast musical sentences, dreaming of one day sitting at a big desk in a big city. I was here, not because I became someone else, because I finally became myself. Asterisk, I left the boardroom and walked the long hallway to the elevator. The building was mostly dark, but the city outside was alive, neon streaks of light glowing on the windows, echoing the new pulse inside me. Tomorrow, things would be different. I didn't know exactly how, whether my boss would avoid me, apologize, or pretend nothing happened. But none of that mattered anymore, because I had already proved everything I needed to them. To me, and as the elevator doors closed, I saw my reflection in the mirrored panel, chin high, eyes steady, voice ready, fade out. Asterisk, we spend so much of our lives trying to fit in, rounding our edges, dulling our colors, muting the parts of us that feel foreign. But sometimes it's the very thing they mock that becomes our power. My accent wasn't a flaw. It was history, courage, migration, and meaning. And when I finally spoke with all of it, not in spite of it, the world listened.